So I've done this a few times, you know.
So,
guys, yeah, morning, I'm Frankie, I'm an addict. The way this is going to work this morning is Lizzie's secretary for the meeting, and she's going to open up the meeting once we get rolling, or the workshop. We're going to have a few readings, and then we'll have a few readings which is going to explain basically about the green and gold book, which Lizzie's going to read from. From that, I'll explain basically about the green and gold it works book and how it's an accompaniment book for those who use the step working guide, because not a lot of people know that. So, shall I hand over to Lizzie? Yeah. There's one other thing we've got. Katie's going to be timekeeper. When we get, after a period of time, I get sick of my own voice. Basically, when we get to about 12 o'clock-ish or so, we will turn it into a bit of a meeting, but it will be more focused on your experience around any of this stuff, or even if you haven't got experience, to ask questions. Because... No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Because most of my experience, which I'll get to, is I'll also explain what a workshop is. Because you'll go to quite a lot of workshops. I've been to quite a few at World, and there are people standing up doing shares. So it's not my interpretation of a workshop. I'm not knocking them. It's just, I just want a workshop to be a workshop. So, Lizzie, can I hand over to you, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
My name is Lizzie, and I'm an addict.
Hello, Lizzie.
Before we start the meeting, just a bit of housekeeping. This is a no vaping or smoking building, and can you please silence any electronic devices and switch them to airplane mode or silent or whatever. Please feel free to browse and look up information on the internet in connection with this workshop. For example, a dictionary is a must. Can we please try not to distract other members in the workshop by getting up and down and taking phone calls? Basic stuff. Right, so I'm now going to read you the introduction to It Works, How and Why. And hopefully it will explain a few things. Welcome. The book you have in your hands is a discussion of the 12 steps and 12 traditions of Narcotics Anonymous. We realize that whether written or verbal, no discussion of something as personal and individual as recovery can be all things to all people. This book is not meant to be an exhaustive study of NA steps and traditions, nor is it meant to be the final word on any aspect of recovery or NA unity. Rather, it is meant to help you determine your own interpretation of the principles contained in our steps and traditions. We hope you will find personal growth, understanding, and empathy in the following pages. We pray you will be moved to a new level of insight in your recovery and the valuable place you occupy as a member of Narcotics Anonymous. Each member of NA has contributed to this book in some way. Whether you are new to recovery or one of our long-time members, your experience, your support, and above all, your presence in the rooms where addicts meet to share recovery have been the motivating forces behind the production of this book. Though the process of writing a book about the experience of a fellowship as diverse as ours has been lengthy, we saw all the barriers and stumbling blocks fade away in the light of our primary purpose, to carry the message to the still suffering addict. That one purpose, clear and powerful, stands alone in our collective consciousness as the only thing that really matters. With that, all is possible and miracles happen. The nature of the recovery process gave us the title for this book. After all was said and done, one fundamental truth emerged as the crux of our program: it works. The reasons our program works, the how and why of recovery, are found in many places: in each other, in our relationship with a higher power, in our hearts and minds, and finally, in the collective wisdom of our members. Because our principal endeavour in the development of this book has been to capture that collective wisdom in written form, we believe the title of this book is most appropriate. It works, how and why. We pray that this book truly represents the therapeutic value of one addict helping another. We offer this book as a gift, addict to addict, and hope our love and concern for every addict who is trying our way of life comes across as strongly as we feel it. Please use and enjoy this book. Share it with your friends, your sponsor, and the people you sponsor. After all, it is through sharing with each other that we find our own answers, our own higher power, and our own path of recovery. Nice. So now I'm going to hand the meeting over to Frank.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks, Liz. I've got some cards here, which will be a bit of a guidance. If any of you don't have any, please take some. And this is a main explanation of how the workshop is passing you. Right. Okay. Right. Experience, strength and hope on how this workshop's evolved, basically, and why it's come about. And this has all stemmed from a basic text workshop that started off. Might need a little bit of help here, bless her. We've got a basic text workshop going, and Archie was the one who first started, Archie C, and this must be, 6 or 7 years ago? Yeah, I'm not sure. And what we were doing in those times was we had what was called directions, suggestions, must, questions and God words. And we went through the basic text with it. And basically, what it was to focus. It developed over a few years, and then we did an extensive workshop which took 12 weeks, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which we did, which we had roughly about an attendance of about 8 people maximum. But the main thing of it, what's happened is, the whole point was that when you read the book or any NA literature, all this does is guide you to what the contents are. Because most people are used to reading books as if they're a novel. They very rarely sit down and read a book with another person. So this is the way this is laid out is so that if you go, sorry, that's a bit distracting. It's very distracting.
Shut the window.
The window's closed.
Is it?
Yeah. It doesn't sound like it, does it?
No, it doesn't.
I don't think it is.
Second one, yeah.
Thank you. Oh,
It's better. Right.
Regular.
So, right, where was we? Yeah, so basically what it is this whole workshop boils down to one page. And if you can, guys can get your head around this one page, what you can do is you can work with people who do not know too much about recovery. Let me take this on back to this one page. Oh God, I'm going to throw it again. Right, on page 9 of the book. Now, the reason I'm on page 9 of the book, and I'm not on the download that you can buy from iTunes, because the pages are not in sync. On the digital download that you get from iTunes, where the books that Narcotics Anonymous sell through via iTunes, the pages are out of sync. So in the actual text itself is page 9. This piece of card is in a complement with it, and I'll explain how it works. Okay? For example, as you'll see on your card there, it says with step 1, let's look at page 9, which has directions, must words and questions on it. Now, as you can see, this is this is my book. So what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at some directions. Now, this is where this workshop will be interactive, and for example, if I was looking for some direction from the book, as you can see, I've highlighted one in green there, and it's been underlined. Now that says we have found that we cannot recover without the ability to be honest. Now, the reason that's a direction is because it tells us what to do. It explains to us what to do. You don't need a sponsor to do that sitting down with you in the coffee shop saying to you, you really have to get honest here. You know, because a lot of people in recovery, they get mixed up, or let's say my experience, I got mixed up with the difference between honesty of not paying my bus fare or not paying for things I've stolen in the shop, as opposed to self-honesty, which is really, really important, because the honesty itself is what we're looking to get the root cause of being honest with. So when you're speaking to someone and you're starting to say to them about being honest, for example, what comes up in the page is there's a question. So that's why we've got directions, questions and must. To move to the question, as we look down here where it's highlighted in orange, the first question that comes up, it says, can I control my use of drugs? Now, my experience of working with people and doing sponsorship with people is when they're very early in, they negotiate. They say, it was all right, drink didn't mess me up. Or I could have the odd joint and I was okay with smoking cannabis, but I couldn't smoke crack. I knew crack was my problem. Well, it's not that I want to send them away to do a bit more research. Maybe working when you're working in a book or working with them is about explaining a bit more about what's actually happened, their consequences. Because one of the major issues that I had in recovery, because it took me 10 years of being in recovery to actually understand what made me an addict. And that was my biggest drawback. And my experience of being in the fellowship for over 24 years is watching people come in and out and in and out and not knowing what their condition is. It's the biggest problem we have in Narcotics Anonymous. And who can say what? When we're looking for directions, a direction is where to go or what to do. One of my bugbearers was I've done eight different lots of treatment, and one of the places I was doing treatment, I was asked to explain power greater than myself. And the well-meaning counsellors in treatment told me that the sun was a power greater than myself because it gives life, and if it didn't come up each day, you know, none of us would be alive. And I kind of got that. It's really, really cool. But I also became aware of two other things. One was the dictionary was a power breaker in myself. Now this might take a bit of mind bending now. And the other one was a road map. Now I'm looking at myself being in recovery early on. When I come here and I think I know what to do, but I do need some guidance. Now if I want to go to a meeting, in East London, I'll pick up the where to find and I'll look in the where to find, or I'll go on the internet and I might even use the Google map to tell me where the meeting is. That's a power greater than me, because until I do that, I haven't got a clue where the meeting is. The dictionary, that was a great one for me, because I had a secondary modern education and I was very experienced at not attending school. We used to call it bunking off. I was expert at it. I was such an expert, I never got caught. So what would happen for me was, there was different parts of my education that were very simplistic and missing, and it's easy to skip over them. Hence, that's why on this card here, where we come to, is the second part of it is must words. Now, this is something I like to expand on with the must words. With a must word, if you're reading a recovery textbook, now I didn't write this book, hundreds of addicts got these books together. It's not me, it's not Frankie's recovery, because there's a lot in these books that I don't agree with. And that's okay, you guys might find the same stuff. There's a lot of stuff I really agree with. And I think some of the books are quite manipulative, that's my stuff, and that's okay. But what I've done is I've read it, and I've had a look, but what's come out of all these hundreds of addicts who's got this literature together? If you're in recovery and you want to focus on recovery and developing in the sense of change, because the whole purpose of recovery is to change, then there's some things which you must do. And it's just a general consensus. And I've got to say, coming up to 14 years clean, I can't dispute it. Some of the must things that I've read through the book and found out, I can't dispute them. Excuse me. I'm not here to undermine the book, I'm not here to tell you guys what to do. All I'm here for, basically, is to get you guys to at least have a look at page 9 in the book. Have a look at this system, which what we've done is develop this system, and basically this system is a gift. You know, what I've done with this book, with the help of other people, which is accumulated to this workshop, is basically I'm saying to you guys, you can come into recovery and we've got something here that works. In fact, we've got something that works that is so good at working, it will change your life around recovery. It will change your life and it will give you an understanding of recovery. And one of the major things which it will do for you, and I promise you this if you look at this, what will happen is if you go through even a small part of this, looking at this, you will start to go to meetings and you will start hearing the non-message. You will start hearing these people who sit in meetings and start saying about working for the bridge to normal living. You know, you'll start hearing all these kind of I'm trying to think of some of the other words. Lester, I'm sure you've got a few, you know. Put you on the spot.
Social anxiety.
Social anxiety, yeah. There's
my therapist says.
not for my inner child's a pyromaniac. That's mainly for women going through the menopause. It's a joke. It's a joke. I'm on this side of the camera. No, but joking aside, it's basically what you can do is you can go through the book, you can read the book in a certain style with directions, musts and questions, and they start to jump out to you, and then you can ask yourself, does this apply to me? It's really quite big stuff, you know. It's if we look at the second paragraph, first line, as I pointed out earlier, we have found that we cannot recover without the ability to be honest. It's a direction, okay, so it tells us what to do. The next one comes down with it's, however, we can learn to be honest, but we must begin to try. Can you see that? This is kind of toy town to a certain extent. It's kind of, very lightweight stuff. But what it basically does is it helps you to focus on the book. Now, the point of doing this with newer members and with sponsees is that they look at what they're reading. That's all. It's not asking for much. It's not asking them to do loads of step work. It's just asking them to focus. Now, if they really need to do this stuff, because they're going to go and work on this book, it's their working guide, if they really need to do it, as it will tell you in this, in the step working guide, it will tell you, come in. In the step working guide, it will tell you it's an accompaniment book. There's some seats here, guys. What it says in the preface here, I haven't actually put it up there, but what it says is the step working guide is a companion piece to It Works How and Why. It's a companion piece. How many people have I met who's come along who have been given the step working guide and told to work from the step working guide? Well, if they have to go through the flat book, which is a challenging book, which I don't suggest anyone goes through unless you've done a basic text first. Why? Because the basic text is a textbook. And you study a textbook and get an understanding of the textbook before you move on to a guidebook. It's kind of, it's that thing of the textbook work for me around the sense of what kind of people read textbooks. Besides Lizzie and Lester. And the authors.
Students.
Yeah, so we have a basic textbook, which is a textbook, and most people don't read the text, don't get a line out of it. Well, a textbook is a book you study. Students study textbooks, so you study basic textbook, get an understanding of it. It's not very thick, and if you need to do more than that, because not everybody needs to do more than a basic text, and you're going on to the flat book to do the step work, and the accompaniment that goes with it starts to become a body of work. But the 10 pages on each step in this book, because each one is 10 pages, which is a bit nuts, except for step 11, it's a bit more. But is the accompaniment to this is to help understand what you're doing, because this book is quite challenging.
So I don't know much about the basic text, yeah?
Yep.
Like you're saying that that's the guidebook, the textbook, yeah? Then how would you merge them when you're doing the step work?
There's not a merge. The basic textbook it's the textbook that was originally made, which we look at, which tells you in general terms what each step applies to or what each tradition applies to, and it has stories in it as well, so you can help identify, because there was a big need for people to help identify. Now, with the textbook, when you read about any of the steps, they're generally 3 or 4 pages, but what's happened is, since the textbook, in the 10 years, we realised there was a lot more to understand, because the basic textbook was just a general book which was rushed out in 1982. This book came out in 1992, this one came out in 93. Now what it was most people realised who was doing step work at the time, they needed to expand, because what was happening was they were going back to the AA original textbook. So basically they were going into a loop. The beautiful thing about the Narcotics Anonymous Fellowship is we evolve. And we evolve to a place of being able to do our steps very intently, because some people need to work very deeply on their step work. I don't know of any, I haven't even been to a treatment centre where, in this step working guide, there's a whole section around child abuse. We're quite radical in Narcotics Anonymous. I don't have the new book here, but We've got, the Living Clean book. I don't know if any of you guys have seen the Living Clean book. Well, they're like series of. It's like, it's the prequel, the sequel, It's like they roll on. They try to say in the Living Clean book that it's for everybody. But what I find is that more people with a bit more time in recovery and in the fellowship seem to relate more to the Living Clean book because it's been built on a mountain of experience. This stuff which we're doing, which I'm showing today around it works, how and why, this is basic stuff. I'm not going to sit down with somebody who's 10 years clean and ask them if they can control their use of drugs. Let's get back to that one. What was it? Let's get back to that one. Whether they can control their use of drugs and are they willing to stop using? Because it's been over a decade. Yes.
Can I just clarify something?
Sure.
So when we did the book study, we had 4 different colours, 4 different coloured highlighters.
That's right.
And we used one for suggestions and directions.
That was that one there.
One for must words.
Yep.
One third colour for questions and a 4th colour for God words.
Right.
Could you repeat them? Sorry. So we had 4. I just wanted to clarify what we did. We had 4 different coloured highlighters.
It's a bit like that.
And we used one colour for directions, one colour for must words, one colour for questions, and one colour for God words. And we went through the basic text highlighting everything that we thought was a direction.
So as any other form of God or higher power or whatever, and one of the nice things is to go to one of the meetings over which Leicester got involved with over in East London, where there's a lot of people from a totally different faith other than Christianity, which is quite interesting.
Sorry,
yeah.
I didn't mean to point that. It's just that I'm completely OCD, and when I've chosen a colour for God, can I stick to that colour?
Well,
is that an OCD thing?
Well, I was going to go yellow there, but I hadn't quite wrote the God in.
But just doing that, just made it just so understandable. Just highlighting the different sentences. Like magic. To me it was, anyway.
To jump on, because it sounds quite academic, all this stuff. It's like, and I don't even know if I'm using that word correctly, because it's the lack of my education, but in the step working guide here, just underneath it says, we find that any of the terms used in this book are unfamiliar. We should feel free to make use of the dictionary. It's one of the things which really wanted to pioneer, because I hear so many people distorted from television advertising, words that they believe they know, and then they get taken out of context when they're going to learn or study something. And the only reason any of us do any of this recovery work is to change so that we don't have to go and kill people outside. No, I've got that wrong actually, so don't take drugs. It's always about not being able to be rattled. So the big one for me was, why did they make certain words italics? Does anyone want to have a go at that? Of course I've looked it up. Does anyone want to have a go? Why on earth? Because they do it in all recovery literature. All of a sudden you'll be reading something in recovery literature and they'll make a word in italic.
It's like when we say could, it's like, but it's possible.
Yeah.
So it's not definite.
Italic suggests that it's being accentuated, right?
That's right.
Emphasise.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They just didn't use highlighters. They slanted the letters instead. Yeah, we good with that?
Yeah.
There's,
As we understood it, that was always, when I first came to recovery, I thought, why is that italics? In certain literature books.
Is it because they're pointing out it's a past tense word?
Yeah.
It's the focus. There's quickly there's 17 of us in this room. Surely we must know what the reason why there's italics. So just in those light little bits on this one page is just to bring up, maybe I don't know everything. Maybe it's just about getting some understanding. Maybe it's just about my trick of getting some of you guys to read the text, but to pay a bit more deeper attention to it. And that is generally what it comes to. It's about being able to read the text, and whilst going through it, trying to discover stuff, and as Lizzie says, it basically comes alive. On, for example, sorry, I've got a lot of art pictures in there. For example, on this one, which is on page 17, you can see the directions are highlighted in green. Now, the thing with this is some of you guys might not agree with what's a direction. And that's okay, because it's about how you interpret it. Because what I've noticed is, I don't have my other book, but what I've noticed is I've gone through some of the basic texts and I've found some directions, and then when I've gone through it a bit later on with a different sponsee, as I've gone through, I've started to disagree with myself. Because what I've realised is I've got that little bit older, my understanding has changed, my perspective on everything's changed, and something which was seemed to be a direction was actually just a little bit of suggestive literature, but I saw it as a command, as a direction, as a must, I have to do this. So it's partly about my journey going through the literature. You know, as I say, part of going through this literature was sitting in, after coming to NA for 24 years, you get sick of life stories. I got sick of life stories. You know, I love hearing people's different stories, you know, around what they did and how they ended up here. But primarily when I spent 10 years of coming to NA and I was constantly picking up again, I needed to learn a bit more about the programme. So, and I always love this one. I like to point out this one with a step working guide. And this is how nuts I am. I've seen an Italian step working guide, and for some reason they've removed these lines. I don't know why. It says there's probably only one inappropriate way to use these guides alone. You can't overemphasise the importance of working with a sponsor and working with steps. So it's really helpful if you're going to go through these books at all, and by using this technique, I can absolutely guarantee you will get a deeper understanding of the book. That's it. I can absolutely guarantee that. And if I was a salesman and I wanted to point this out to you and sell this shit to you, what I would say to you is, do you want to change your life? Do you want to stop using? Do you want to change your life? I can absolutely guarantee I can change your life. I can absolutely change, you'll get a deeper understanding of the literature, and I can absolutely guarantee you will sit in meetings and think, I don't know what half of these people are talking about anymore. Because what you will have is an understanding of the Narcotics Anonymous programme, 12-step programme, and what you need to do to change. Is everyone cool with that?
Yeah.
Bring it on, Frankie.
Cool, thank you. Any questions?
Can we have windows now?
I guess so, the noise has stopped.
Please, thank you.
Do you know what the problem?
Yeah.
Is the heating on?
No.
Ryan's asking that is.
Hi, Archie.
What about statements?
Get out.
What about? Here, Archie, have a badge.
Oh yeah, I want one of them.
Anyone like a badge?
Yeah.
Come on, have a badge. Des,
On the previous page, on step 1.
on number 9, was it?
Yeah. So you've highlighted, however we can learn to be honest and we must begin to try.
Yep.
Right? But you've only highlighted the must, but you haven't highlighted the whole sentence. I'm just wondering, because to me, the whole sentence is a must, but I guess.
Well,
Sorry,
okay, yeah, you're right, because I've missed that chunk there. Come in, Arch, come in. Don't stand in the doorway. Archie, but let's just get it right. As I mentioned earlier, Archie was the pioneer for this. He was the one who ignited this all and started off from the beginning. Now he's running around the convention wired up. Go on, Archie.
It's not about however we can learn, to be honest.
Yeah.
Alright, so that's separate by the comment.
Okay.
It's a separate part of the sentence. There's not a must in however we can learn.
Okay.
Because we can is not a must, it's not an absolute. We can. That's contingent on doing something. We must begin to try that. That's essential that we do try.
An essential to must work.
Two halves to the
Thank you.
So really, the must, it could, in pink, you could have, we must begin to try, just
Yeah.
as a must word within that sentence.
There's one at the top there, see where it says, you know, honesty had to replace denial before that.
Rather than, it would be nice if it replaced it.
Nice.
No.
Well, one of the guides we were using for must words, because we were kind of educating ourselves with it.
Yeah.
One of the guides which we used was, with a must word, for example, was I must breathe.
Yeah.
I have to breathe. I had, you know, and it was one of the guides because all of a sudden, when we get the dictionary, being a good addicts that we are, you can't have a dictionary without having a thesaurus. And by the time you open up a thesaurus, you might as well have an Argos catalogue. I don't know about you guys, but I'm an obsessive compulsive. Before I know where I am, I'm off and running because I'm over the top with a lot of stuff. So it's about getting a reading and an understanding of the book. It's not about becoming, which I've done, somebody who becomes a slave to the literature. It's just about finding out the information there. There's lots of stuff in this which I suppose they call it conjecture. It's just stuff to glue it together. There's, you know, when we finally turn to Narcotics Anonymous and the 12 steps, we begin to find relief. Fuck did I find relief. It took me 10 years of coming out. I hated everybody, you know. That's just, I think, stuff that glues it together. Some people, in my experience, who's come in and gone, wow, this is amazing, I found my family and all the rest of it. My personal experience says to me the clock's ticking. Bye, mate. 5 years' time, we would hold that person in the photo. You know, those people who kind of get those revelations, I don't see that. The majority of people that I've met who come to NA, they don't like saying they're addicts. They don't really want to come out. The last thing they want to do is look at some literature. But what happens is, as we kind of get brainwashed and broken, they start to realise everything gets a little bit better by doing this stuff. And, go on, Liz.
Sorry, Liz. Yeah, from your question, there is no right and wrong way of doing it, is there? Because everyone has an opinion, like everyone's got an arsehole. Everyone has their own opinion, and what looks like a suggestion to me might look like a direction to you. So there's you know, same as there's no right and wrong way. There's not.
Scales, the thing is, what it is, it says direction, suggestions, and must word.
Yeah.
So it's not a must sentence, it's a must word.
Yeah.
It's like a direction, for example, I can just say right. That's not a suggestion or a direct, does that mean I'm right, that means turn right, it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Whereas must implies.
Well, if anybody's got an internet connection on their phone and they put in must in the thesaurus, it will give you associated words. So if anyone wants to have a go at that.
I got it.
No, because it's part. One of the main things what NA did to this addict, who was very skilled at selling drugs for 12 years, working down, trying to think of it myself.
It's a bit like saying you need to breathe. Can we?
It's not optional, really, no.
Yeah, if you don't want it, well, you know.
I suppose it is
Must
optional.
breathe if you want to live
Nobody
it.
lives the program of the NA. How's it go? What is that saying? Nobody who lives
Truly is the NA
Those who truly
program.
follow this path.
relapse. I can't remember it.
When do you want to have
Call a week.
Yeah.
I think that's real good evidence for someone who's taken a lot of drugs in the past, because they definitely said it messed me memory up. You know, I don't know about you guys, but
But the thing is,
memory's not a good point for me.
where, like you say, something can stay clean with a need and things like that, and that's things, the suggestions. There's some suggestions that are must because you might need to do that suggestion.
Yeah.
You might have to follow that one, but everybody who wants to follow the ball and effect of a certain, you have to.
Of course, we're all inclusive. I've got quite a few people, get to you Dave 1 second, we've got quite a few people that I know have been around for quite a long time who have never actually done step work or such, or they did step work earlier and haven't done any step work for quite a few years. And they're still clean, they're still happy, and they're still got a life. But what they do is they come to NA once every couple of weeks, and that's enough for them. Well, they've learned the habit of how to stay clean. For somebody like myself, I had to change my obsessive, compulsive way of thinking because it kept taking me back to using. And that's what I had to do. Not everybody has to do that, and it's welcome to the people who don't have to do that. You know, it's a bit like people who come along, and you hear this really a lot, where people come along and they say, I only used to smoke cannabis. You know, you did what you did to get here. Welcome, well done. You know, you don't have to be like me and, you know, have injecting scars on your body. That doesn't qualify you to come to NA. You don't, you know, and I've even got experience of being around this period of time where I've known addicts who's gone out and tried drugs, which have been drugs they've never taken before, and they've forgotten the golden rule of recovery, which is 1 is too many, 1,000 is never enough. Lizzie was going to do 1/4 weren't you, Liz? Unless Dave's got a question.
Yeah, 1/4. We're going to open up the meeting for questions and stuff, but
It wasn't really sort of a question.
It's important, Dave.
It was two words which I liked when we'd done that a minute ago. Google the must words, and one of I think the favourite ones, vital.
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 And that sort of taps into we must breathe. It's vital we breathe.
Your vital signs, they say in hospital.
And the other one is more sort of like telling me off and what to do is compulsory.
Compulsory.
I like this. I'll shut up then.
you've got a different dictionary to me.
Oh,
I love
no,
that vital, that's good. That's
Lovely, isn't it?
There's not a clash between the Collins and the
No, it's all right, I'm going to let it go.
Our recovery dictionary is better than your recovery dictionary. So yeah, you guys got any questions? What we was planning to do was not have a boring long workshop. It was about opening it up and having a little discussion or a meeting about here or your experience or your experience of any of this stuff.
Yeah,
Would you like to do that?
no, I was going to ask you a question. So
Go on then, ask me a
yeah,
question.
my experience, I haven't fuck all experience at the moment. What I'm struggling with a lot here is, it's not so much retention, yeah? It's more so absorbing it, yeah? As in I've read the basic text,
Right.
yeah, I've read the basic text, and in my second month, after I'd done step 1, I started doing step 2, yeah?
Yeah.
And what my sponsor said was, look, do this, read it, how it works and why, yeah, read the chapter,
Yeah.
and then, like, just slowly just start progressing into it. So I read it once, and I'm telling you, man, it smacked me out of the court, you know what I mean? Like, literally, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't understand what's going on, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah? And, like, so then what he said to me, he said, look, just keep on reading it. Like, he said, instead of starting the step, yeah, he said, dude, just read it once every day, yeah, for like a week and see how you feel. I read it once every day for a week, and still nothing kicked in. Like, nothing, I couldn't, what was it, embody it sort of thing. Not embody it, that's a fucking big stretch for me anyway, but I really could not take it in. So then he said do it for 2 weeks, then he said do it for 3. After the 3rd week, when I started doing the steps, it started getting a bit better. But now I'm on step 3, yeah, I was thinking, fuck man, I don't want to do that again. Like for the next 3 weeks, every day, read the chapter morning, noon and night sort of thing, you know what I mean?
Well, that has been my experience as well.
Yeah.
So if I can try and help you with that moment, I love this stuff. I'm a bit geeky like that. You know, I'm English and got the glasses, a bit geeky like that. Just for example, and let's do it as we do it here. On page 2, as I say, this is out of whack, so I'm going to have to look for it. What I would like to do. Right, okay.
Oh, just like a caveat, yeah. I sound
Yeah.
smart,
Hold on,
don't I?
no, it's alright. Got it.
As we examine.
See what it says as we examine. In this is the paragraph from there to there. Yeah, that's the paragraph. In there, can you see that?
Yeah, I'm
Can
seeing
you read it?
Yeah.
Okay, can all of you see it and read it?
Yeah.
Okay. Where's the must word?
You need to understand.
Need.
Media.
We need to
understand.
understand and acknowledge their presence in our lives if our admission of powerlessness is to be complete.
Did you get that?
No, you already eventually passed, I ain't gonna lie. I was still in the
That's
first
right.
sentence.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Right, so what it is it appears to me, I'm no expert in this, but it appears to me what you're saying is you just take your time to read as it's just a bit slower for you.
No, it's like I'm still in the fog, innit? I'm not gonna lie, I'm still in the fog. Yeah, like still in the fog of drug use. You know, and I'm not gonna bullshit, I'm a newcomer.
Oh, right,
I've been
so-
that for fucking ages, you know what I mean?
So what you're saying is you're not abstinent at the moment?
No, I'm abstinent.
Right.
No, I mean, like today I'm like 69 days.
Well
something like that.
done.
Yeah, yeah, but it's taken me like 13 fucking years to get here, you know what I mean? Like, I've been trying to get clean for
Well,
ages, you know what I mean? And like,
well, if anyone with a bit of extra time here wants to answer that, because I don't want to give all the answers here. Katie, go
Can I
on.
just share my experience?
Go on, please.
Is that even no matter how long I've been around, impatience is really quite big for me. To
Yeah.
work on patience. It's easier said than done, you know, kind of give it time and all that. But you just said it yourself that you're quite early on, you're still in the fog, so you're thawing out. Give yourself a break.
I hear that all the time. Am I being honest or something?
Yeah. So if everyone's
Yeah.
saying it to you,
You
then maybe
really
you
are.
should listen to other people.
But I don't see it. I swear to God, I really don't see it. I feel like I'm just being honest.
That's good, be honest.
I'll give you an
But
example.
if you want to, if you're thinking, okay, yeah, this is pissing me off, I can't be out, you know, morning, noon and night, there's plenty of other shit that you could be doing that be dragging you down, like the using of, oh, I can't keep doing this morning, noon and night, this is...
No, I'm like reading it twice a day, like in the
Good.
morning and in the evening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's not like it's a burden. It's like it don't sink in. You know what I mean? Like, how do you like the way you look talk? You don't sound like fucking gurus. Like, you know what I mean?
We're not trying to give you a diagnosis, we just know that from the NA program it says take it easy, keep it simple.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And this stuff where you're fogged with and you're locked with, that's what you take to your sponsor.
Yeah.
That's what you do. Don't get caught up in questions. Pops up.
Different perspectives.
That's the point of what we were saying earlier, where when I do some highlighting with a newcomer sponsee, and then 2 years up the road I'm with another newcomer sponsee, I'm doing some highlighting, all of a sudden it changes again, because I see it starts to open up again, more stuff. So just take it easy, keep it simple.
Hi, my name is Emma. I'm an addict.
Hello.
I must have read the basic text, step 1, maybe hundreds of times, but I mean, I've been 7 months clean now, but I've been
Well done.
thank you, for nearly 2 years. It took me 1.5 years to understand the bit where it says social acceptance doesn't equal to recovery. And just because I didn't understand that sentence, I mean, I'm running a successful business, you know. I mean, come on, I am okay. And I kept relapsing for 1.5 years. The longest I could keep clean was 3 months. And my life turned into hell. So it just took me 1.5 years to understand one sentence and stay clean. You know, so you're not alone. And this happens to every single one of us. And another thing that in my experience is like with self-centeredness. Now, what the hell does that mean? I mean, for God's sake, you know. I speak Turkish, I speak English, I can understand both languages perfectly. I would look up in the dictionary, we do like extensive research on the internet. Finally, until one day, one experienced member shared in a meeting saying that, well, you actually think that you should have the way in metro or in underground, and you hate everybody just for being that. That is self-centeredness. So speak to experienced members and tell them that you don't understand. They might actually be better than any dictionary in my experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Kieran.
Thank you.
Kieran.
Yes, my experience, I'm Kieran, I'm an addict.
Hi, Kieran.
Great stuff, guys. I didn't even embark on this book until I was about 4 years clean because, like Frankie mentioned earlier, it's not really highly known in the fellowship unless you go to work. This is why I like going to workshops. There is an order to the bookwork really, and you start with the basic text. It's a basic. That's why it's got the word basic and the word text. It means it's right at the beginning and it's something you study. And then we go on to more books like the Green and Gold. Because my sponsor Peter knew this book inside out. He was part of the committee that developed the Step Working Guide. So I knew from years ago that they were something that was worked together. But he said to me, go and read the basic text. Because I said, I don't understand you, we'll go and read the basic text. And then read that again. I didn't, unfortunately, I didn't have, it's like Leicester's the important thing that Leicester said, I didn't have someone to sit down and read it, but he wouldn't do it, he kept sending me away. But we read it in our home group, we started to read it together, and we started to all share about it. And then I understood the basic text, and then I started to understand the Green and Gold a bit more, because the basic text is written a little bit more simpler for me to understand. So, I don't know. Perhaps read the basic text and then come back to this book. But I'm not your sponsor, I can't guide you, but it's just a suggestion for me. I went back to the basic text, read that a bit more. And some of the mothership stuff, which I understood, helped me understand the basic text a bit more. So, it was all a process for me to go at the beginning, reading through the books and now getting to this one.
Yeah, can I just
go on.
Thanks, I just want to participate and add to the meeting because and you mentioned the mother test. I was going to copy the book Alcoholics Anonymous by a well-meaning member of Alcoholics Anonymous. It might as well have been written in fucking Latin. No, honestly, about 10 years. But I had 10 years of an expensive education as well, and not being able to understand these people saying to me, what's wrong with you, what's the matter with you, etc. Now the book Alcoholics Anonymous says, we took inventory, we identified shortcomings, we identified people that we harm. So basically, from my own experience, that not being able to understand things are falling asleep or whatever, it's like that's a symptom of a resentment or a fear or an envy or a jealousy or a better than or a less than or a laziness or selfishness or a dishonesty. And that, to actually remove the blocks and to actually sit down with somebody else. When I did that for an hour, I went through all through my life, where have I been resentful, fearful, selfish, dishonest, etc. The inventory, that removed the blocks. And what I found is that because I had 10 years of coming to meetings, and my life did improve, even though I never did the steps, I listened to a lot. And it was all going in, but then suddenly, when I did inventory properly, I suddenly started remembering things that all came back. So I think it does go in, but based on it's like an index. And we can, when we remove the blocks, then we can get to the index. But that's what I would be saying, not just. Look, you can say to me, just give it time. It takes time. That's my experience. But you might be alive in 18 months. But how many other people you give them 18 months without doing work, without taking inventory, without making amends, without writing others? They're dead, right?
See, that becomes a bone of contention. I hear what you're saying, but for me, that becomes a bone of contention because he kind of has a similar thing to what this lady had here, and that is we're clouded. We can't smash through it. It's really working. The inventory that you've just set out is built on your experience because you have the time and the experience of doing all this. It's a little bit like when the gentleman says, we sound like gurus because at the moment we're trying to take it easy, keep it simple.
Yeah.
That's I think what happens to a lot of us. I think that's why we originated.
Can I just say, sorry, Lizzie, when I first got here I was so panic-stricken to get out of where I'd been that I was just like, and also this less than thing is like, I ain't going to do it right. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I do not understand this. Because I've always been shit before, my life has been shit, and I've never succeeded at anything. Why? This is too much, it's overwhelming. And the kind of panic to be able to be good and do something. And all I can say to you, sorry, what's your name again? Khalil, hi. All I can say is, if you apply this little, the colours, the highlighting, it will make it much easier. If you can maybe get a little group of your mates together and maybe sit down and do it, whatever, you know. But
we're going to go today, and then Lizzie's going to be secretary again. So just wanted to say to you guys as I end up, these cards at the end of the meeting, feel free to take them. And any of these badges, if any left. The idea of the card, I tried to get the printer to get it so it would fit inside the book, but to trim it a bit more, they wanted a lot more money, so. So you just have to put up with it. If you take something, you just have to put up with it that way. Dave?
Yeah, Dave had it. Like you, like Frankie, and like a couple other people said, it's my 10th year in the fellowship, and I'm not 10 years clean. It took me 7.5 years of your stuff, what you just shared, and I tried so hard. I've done everything what was suggested. I tried it, and I just couldn't get it. You know, we couldn't get it. And I think that was it. I was just trying so fucking hard. You know, but I think it says somewhere in the literature, because I'm not great on the literature, and stuff like you can't think I went out and paid back pretty much. So if I'm really trying to think through my game, why can't I fucking get this? I'm going to just hit that brick wall all the time. I think it's what people say is give yourself a break. So breathe and say, if I can't do it, what can?
I'm not gonna lie to you, man, like right now, man, I'm fucking petrified of hitting crack again. I know what you're saying, like when you talk about like blazing the zoo, having a little drink, like I know for a fact, like I wouldn't go to that first anymore because I've done it untold amount of times. I know straight away, the second I take that one pull on a bike, on a spliff, oh, this is fucking shit. I've done it so many times now, I just think, fuck that, I'll just go straight there. And I don't want to fucking die today, you know what I mean? I don't fucking state me, you know what I mean? Like, I feel awful.
But before I hand over to Lizzie, because what happens is we turn into a room full of cancers and try to work a problem out.
Yeah.
You know, I can only say, because I'll share my little bit of experience, because I want to put my tuppence worth in, because I'm fired up, because I want to help and assist, like a lot of us addicts. We all want to rescue someone. You know, that's why I love that analogy around always make sure you put on your oxygen mask first before you help anyone else. I love that one, you know. And you know, learn about the stuff before you try and fix someone else, you know. I had a similar thing, and my similar thing was I had to do, in my 90 and 90, I did 280 in 90, and I did, I did coffee shop recovery. I lived and breathed NA, because if I stepped out of all these crazy people who talk bollocks, I was around people who were shoplifting, who were going to get some gear, who was on a mission, all those words, you know. And I had to change my whole vocabulary. I had to stop saying things like gear and tackle. I had to own it for what it was. I had to say heroin, cocaine, crack, you know. I had to identify what it was, so I realised they lied to me. And that's the thing with the honesty. Lizzie, do you want to open up for a... put you in charge. I want to go a wee, but you're in charge.
Well, okay, so it's kind of been open already, hasn't it? But, so I open up the meeting. Anybody that wishes to share or their experience about working through the books?